Okay. Yeah, they got it.
Hmm. Now we just gotta wait for you to put us on the air.
We're live with another episode of BS Busters, and we're joined by.
Joe Ryan, Elon Moonstar, and I welcome you to, so, an event that usually happens only once a year.
Yeah, this is a special cast where we are celebrating Jules' birthday. So this is her special cast. These are her topics, and she is taking the lead from this point on out. So here we go.
Though, at least before we start, I will say that it's said that we don't have the full crew here to do it, but if anything, we'll try to do our best. Though, keep in mind, we can only do so much.
Yeah. You can only do so much. So without much ado, let's dive into it. First topic.
And this one is probably fun for some people if you like to gather things. It's collections, or rather, in-game collections. And I'm just curious, what what's your experience with them, and how you feel about them coming back in a sense, or rather, do you want them to come back?
I would I actually would totally be for them coming back. I don't like I don't but I want them to come back like they were back in the day where you would like buy like Taito Hits collection on the PS1 or the PS2 and it would have like 20 25 games. I don't like what they do now where they're like we're having a collection and it's like 5 or 6 games and they charge you 60, 50, $40 for it. I don't think that's a fair and equitable exchange. I think if you're going to do a game collection, it should be at least 20, 30 games, between 20 and 30. And, you should have it should have some decent production value. If you're doing emulation, the emulation should be really, really good. Like, I don't want, uh, like, I think recently they had, like, the Cotton video game collection, and they had to delay it because the emulation for it is utter trash. Like you're playing it, and it's. I mean, it plays like utter and complete trash. And the Cotton games are shoot 'em up shooters, so I mean, you kind of do need and they're like one hit kill shooters. Like you have like options you can use that'll take a hit for you, but once they're gone, you take a hit, you're done. So you need like smooth, like kind of as faithful as you
The
can emulation.
I was going to say that's a bullet hell like game, isn't it?
Well, I mean, it's not as bad as say the stuff we have now. Like it's not as bad as the stuff from Treasure, like Ikaruga and Radiant Silvergun, stuff like that. But I mean, even though it's a cute 'em up and it's kind of cute, I mean, you like any game where you need like almost pixel perfect response. Like you can't be having emulation that's really really bad on a collection. And I mean, unfortunately, most of these games, unless you're talking about something from an M.2 collection, like those Sega Ages collections on the 3DS, you're gonna get kind of shoddy emulation, which is kind of sad. So you know, I mean, I'm kind of old school like that because I do remember back in the day having a lot of like I have the two Capcom classic collections on the GameCube. I had the Mega Man collection on the GameCube and the PS2. Um, I had the famous Nintendo HDified Super Mario All Stars.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean,
Heard
that's
that one
basically
before.
that's basically kind of like the first HD remaster of a classic game was Super Mario All Stars. So I mean, like, I like collections, but I want the emulate, like, either take the original games and remaster them in a new engine, kind of like they did with Super Mario All Stars back in the day, or if you're gonna like take the old stuff and bring it over, you have to emulate it really well. Cause I mean, like I got the Castlevania collection, Castlevania Anniversary Collection on Steam, and there's lag when you're playing like the 2D Castlevania games, especially like Super Castlevania 4. So I'm playing this game and I'm like I've played Super Castlevania 4 on the original hardware, on the Wii Virtual Console, the Wii U Virtual Console, emulation on PC for years. Never had a problem. The lag is so bad on the Konami port of this game that like jumps that I have made, like I wouldn't say millions but thousands of times, no problem. I'm like dying from stuff that I've never died from before because the emulation is lagging. Like it's a bad emulator that they're running these games through. So
Hmm.
you know, I'm for collections. I just want them to be done well.
I could at least agree with you on that. And if anything, the, there's at least some hope that there's good collections out there, e- even though we have a few bumpy ones. Um, though, if anything, you kind of shot towards the physical world. I was aiming at collectathon games.
Oh, you mean games where you're collecting a lot of loot? I mean, I like those games when the
Yeah,
collection is
that was
done
what I was
well.
actually aiming at.
When the collection is done well, I'm cool with it. Like when it's done well. If you're collecting a whole like if you're collecting a whole bunch of shit and it's just like some of it is just kind of
Um,
tedious.
I'm gonna I'm gonna aim at two examples of probably good and bad, and sadly, they're both from the same series, Donkey Kong.
Yeah, yeah.
Good would be the Donkey Kong Country 2 and 3, I think. I'm iffy about which one, about those two together, but I think those two would be good examples of good collectathons.
I would say the original trilogy had good collectathons. Like the first game, like collecting
Um,
things gave you the ability. Like if you collected all the animal friend tokens, you could go get a bonus level, which gave you more one ups. If you collected all of the
Lives,
yeah, they gave you more one ups, more lives. If you
and the
collected
KONG is a 1-up.
yeah, if you found all the little secret exits, that completed your completion, so you get 101%. Which, if you did all that, I mean, it was a small thing because you were just getting lives, and it just upped your overall completion of the game. But that was still, it gave you a sense of accomplishment, and not in that ironic EA Star Wars Battlefront 2 way. Um, and then like Donkey Kong Country 2, I think it was kind of the balance between the two. I think they started going a little bit overboard while they got to 3, and but then you have the opposite end of that spectrum, which is Donkey Kong 64, like you said, where like the collectathon just got to be a little bit too
I,
tedious.
I was gonna say that I was taking the Donkey Kong Country series as the best example of a collectathon for games. I didn't say which one was the bad edition of the collectathon. You just aimed there,
Yeah, but I
but
mean,
you are right.
most people say that. And even though I personally didn't find the collectathon of Donkey Kong 64 to be tedious, I know that there are people who did. So, like subjectively, I don't feel that way, but objectively, I can see how other people would feel that way. And I appreciate that because, I mean, I'm not going to lie, like before I
Yeah.
really, really, really got into that game, like if you're a casual fan of Donkey Kong Country and you play Donkey Kong 64 and you see how like well, I mean like you're going in an area that might enable multiple monkeys to go through the area. And you're like there's blue bananas here, but I'm like chunky. Like why can't I just get these blue bananas while I'm also chunky? Like why do I have to switch to Lanky Kong and then come back through this area again? Like I can understand why that would get to be tedious.
Yeah, and that's on top of other collectibles that each Kong has to collect. Like, let's see, banana coins, the balloons, the
Yeah, but the banana coins aren't that bad because you need those in order
golden
to upgrade.
bananas.
The banana coins aren't that bad because you need those to upgrade your because you don't have group upgrades for your Kong, so you need to get the banana coins so that you can upgrade your Kong. So the reward that you get for getting new moves and upgrading moves that you already have is worth it. Finding the blueprints. Well, if you want to get the best ending of the game, that you kind of get rewarded for that. The banana fairies. Those unlock cheats that make the game easier, so you kind of get rewarded for that. But the bananas, like how you have to switch different Kongs to get different colored bananas, that's where the game kind of gets to be too much. And I can understand that. I'm not gonna.
I, I was gonna say that's the normal bananas. The golden bananas have fun thinking about those, especially if some of those end up into certain mini games.
Yeah, but you kind of just get those just by playing the game. Like you get golden bananas like if you go into an area that can only be opened up by Diddy Kong, like only by Diddy Kong, and you do whatever things you do in there, like you're gonna get those for Diddy Kong anyway. Like you have to be playing as that Kong to get to activate whatever mini game or like little in-world event you have to do in order to get that golden banana. So that's not really like a major headache. The problem is there's a lot of golden bananas in the game. I think there's 250. Let me look
So
it up.
I was going to say there's five bananas for each Kong.
Let me see. How many
and
bananas in Donkey Kong 64?
I was about to say there's five per.
No, I'm googling it.
Yeah.
There's
about 40 bananas.
There's 400 bananas.
There's about okay. Actually 0, but yikes, 400 bananas. Or is it 401? Because I remember one of them gets an extra banana.
Yeah, the secret banana. Oh, how many golden bananas? Sorry. There are let's see, Donkey Kong Country 64. There are let's see. There are over 200. There are 201 because there's the one hidden one that you get if you get
the Banana Fairy Queen.
The Banana Fairy Queen. And that's that is ridiculous. That's a lot.
I was about to say, that's a completionist nightmare.
Not really. There are games that have worse. Like, okay, if you play Jak and Daxter 1, 2, and 3, those have worse collectathons. Those mystic eggs that have these like really kind of cryptic clues to unlock them. Yeah, that's way worse than Donkey Kong 64. Like way worse. Way. Oh god. That's far worse.
Let me guess.
Worse.
It's a guide dang it kind of. It's a guide dang it kind of thing.
No, it's like
right? Where you need a guide to find them.
No, it's one of those things where unless you have a FAQ, you're not gonna know what they are. And even if you know what they are, most people are not gonna have the patience to unlock all those cheats. You're just not going to have the patience to. You might have the patience to unlock certain cheats that you really want to use to make the game easier for yourself or more fun, and that's it. Because it's like, okay, you have to win certain races with a perfect time, or you have to complete certain challenges without taking a hit, or you have to. And this is difficult because in the first Jak and Daxter game, the platforming and hit detection is utter trash. So it's like one of those things where it's like Donkey Kong 64, all of the little things that you can unlock and find, the things you can collect,
they add up.
You can do it. It's possible. Might be frustrating, but you can do it. There's stuff in Jak and Daxter 1, 2, and 3 where it's like the only way I could unlock this is if I found another cheat that made the game easier. So you have to find other ways to cheat in order to get in order to move ahead, in order to get all the unlockables, and it's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. I mean, that's kind of the flaw of Jack and Dexter is, especially that first game because it's just kind of like built like that, unfortunately. But
Mm-hmm. Though I kind of feel bad for anybody that gets a headache if they're new to collectathons.
yeah, yeah. Donkey Kong Country, I wouldn't say is the first. Like, I wouldn't say that it's the a good collectathon to start out with because especially if you don't have the temperament of an old school gamer where you just kind of like the old school gamer back in the day where you maybe got one or two games a year, maybe three, and whatever you got you just played. Like even if it was a bad game, you're like, fuck it, I'm gonna play it. You have to have that level of patience playing Donkey Kong 64. But once you get past the once you get past the certain gameplay concepts that some people just don't have the patience for, it's not that bad of a game. It's not like Jack and Dexter, the first Jack and Dexter, where it's like they have this secret special area where if you get like 81 hidden challenge eggs, you can unlock this area, but like it leads to a tease that you never get because of reasons. It's one of those things. It's like, okay, I can't deal with this. This is too much.
Yeah. So if anything, if I recommend a collectathon game, I'd probably say Donkey Kong Country 2 or maybe certain Mario games.
I mean, I would say Mario 64 is good as a collectathon. Not the DS version, because then it gets to be too much. Because then they add like the extra stars and all this extra shit, and it's like, okay. And you're playing it
Yeah,
on the DS with a stylus, which just doesn't feel right. I think Mario Sunshine sucks as a collectathon. Because if you want to get the best ending of that game, you have to find everything, which is just a chore.
annoying. And yeah, um, certain Mario games are good with the collectathon.
I mean, I would say in terms of 3D Mario games, I would say Mario 64, the first one, has the best collectathon. Because after that, it just gets to be a little too tedious with later games. Like Mario Sunshine, the collectathon is tedious, especially those blue coin challenges are a motherfucker. Um, and then you go
Oh,
to Galaxy, and Galaxy's collectathon was like some of them were also kind of tedious, but the setting and the gravity mechanics and how fun those two games are, you kind of like let a lot of the flaws slide. And then they went to 3D World, which 3D World really didn't have a collectathon in the classical sense. You only had to get like the stamps, and that was it. Like that wasn't like a really hard thing to find.
well, the stamps and the 3 stars and the
Yeah, the stamps and the stars, but you were going to get the stars just by exploring, and the stamps were most of the time the stamps were in like
a minigame area.
well, no, they were in places where it's like, okay, that looks like there might be something hidden over there, or that might look like might lead to a cool area. Like it wasn't esoteric, like, oh, how the hell am I gonna find this? So it wasn't that bad for 3D World. Sunshine
Yeah,
had some really bad collectathons. Just you trying to find shit and like secrets and
yeah,
coins
I would.
and McGuff. It's like whatever.
Yeah, so yeah. If anything, I agree with you. Stick with Mario 64 if you're going with collectathons in Mario case.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll tell you a game that had really bad collectathons just for the amount of shit you collected, and a lot of it you didn't even really use for much of anything. Breath of the Wild.
Oh God! Please tell me you're not talking about those.
I mean, you collect so much shit in that game, and most of it you're going to use for cooking. But really, like the thing is, you collect all this shit in Breath of the Wild. But really, once you like figure out like 3 or 4 recipes, all the other shit is like, I don't know why I got this. Unless you're really bent and bound on upgrading your armors in the game, because you can't look all that
Um,
shit you collect. You can't repair your weapons. You break a spear.
I
Well,
was gonna say,
you gotta buy. You gotta make a new one.
the most useless one that basically insults you was probably those seeds.
What the golden poo seed, the Deku seeds?
Yep.
I mean, that was like a joke. That was like an in-game joke. And you had to be really dedicated to get all 400. So I'm not going to consider that to be the most insulting. I would say the most insulting things that you collected in that game was just the sheer amount of useless shit that is rendered useless once you basically reach the next zone level of in-game mechanics difficulty. Like the shit that you collected in the beginning of the game, like when you finally found a decent broadsword, you're like, oh, this is great. And then you go to the next zone, and the shit that you thought was great in the previous area is like trash, but you have like multiple versions of it. It's like this is stupid. like like Breath of the Wild is the only Legend of Zelda game I ever played where the more I played it, the more I realized it was incomplete and that there were massive things missing out of it. Uh, But anyway, that was a collectathon I thought that was just kind of like, this is stupid. Um, any other collectathons we should mention? In-game collectathons, sorry.
The only one that's recent that could actually be talked about in a sense probably be sadly ukulele.
Which one? The 2D game or the first one?
The first one.
See, that's the thing. I didn't dislike the first game. I mean, I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was a lesser Donkey Kong 64, but I like Donkey Kong 64
That
in spite of its flaws. So you
I was
know,
about to say, saying that's a lesser Donkey Kong 64 kind of gives me the feeling of this is Donkey Kong 64, but trimmed down the fat.
yeah, it's Donkey Kong 64 Lite, but the thing is, I like Donkey Kong 64, so even the like really kind of trimmed down version, I'm like, I like this. But I can see where people didn't like ukulele. It's not one of those things where I'm like, how the fuck do you not like this? I can understand why people don't like it. I just like, in spite of its flaws, I still like the aesthetic and what they were trying to do. I think my issue with ukulele is that I think if uh, Playtonic had more money and more time, they could have made that game amazing. But they didn't have more money and they didn't have more time. And for what they were able to do with the amount of money and time they had to make it, that game is amazing to me. Um, I know it's not perfect, but very few games are perfect. Like even games that I love, like absolutely love, I can say that they have. I can critique them and look at them, take a step back and try to be as objective as I can and say, I love this game on a subjective level, but there are issues that keep it from being perfect.
Yeah, though, if anything, if you split yourself into certain categories and look at them, you might say it might end up perfect by a technicality, but overall, it doesn't feel perfect. At
No,
least as far as I got it.
I mean, like, okay, like I love Chrono Trigger. I would say Chrono Trigger, like subjectively to me, is like one of the most perfect RPGs of all time. Not 16-bit RPGs, just RPGs. Period. But there are issues with that game that kind of keep it from being 100% on an objective critiquing level. Like Chrono, the main character of the game, is the weakest character in the game in terms of like character development, shit like that. He basically is literally just like whisked along
He's
from adventure to adventure
the
to
silent
adventure.
hero.
Well, he's not even a hero. Like he like Link has a similar thing where Link doesn't really talk, but and Samus similar thing. She doesn't really talk except in that god awful Other M game. But aside from that game, Samus doesn't really talk that off except like at the end of the game she'll have like an epilogue where she'll give her thoughts on the journey or whatever. But by and large, during the game, she doesn't really say shit. But like she has certain actions. You know, Link has certain actions that he does narratively that show you his character. You don't get any of that from Chrono. Like Chrono is just very like he's not even stoic. It's like he's literally just an avatar for the will of the player, and to the extent where he has no character of his own. Like that's kind of the problem of Chrono. But like and I mean if you're looking at a game from, you know, like if Chrono Trigger if they remade Chrono Trigger and they gave Chrono character, like actual character, Chrono Trigger would be perfect in my opinion, because everything else, it has player choice, it has player guided consequences, like if you don't do certain shit, other shit will happen. Like there's
Yeah.
like everything else is there. It has great character development for the other characters, but Chrono has practically no character development, like zero.
The only time that you actually get to hear from Chrono a little bit is during one of the endings.
Yeah, and that's one of the joke
Really.
endings. That's the joke ending. So I mean, really, I mean the problem with Chrono Trigger, I mean, like critiquing it, like looking at it critically, because like I said, you know, like a lot of people say, well, if you like something, you shouldn't criticize it. But who is more qualified to criticize something than someone who has looked at something a lot? Like, would you trust someone who's like, yeah, I've never read a science fiction book in my life to critique a science fiction masterpiece? No, because they know fuck all about the subject.
And this is probably going to hit close to gaming a little bit. Would you trust somebody that loves RPG with an RPG game?
No,
Or would you trust them to rate a RPG like Mass Effect?
no, no. Now, to be fair, I mean, there are mitigating factors. There are cases where getting a newbie or someone who isn't familiar with the franchise to look at it, because there are RPGs that are more geared towards a more casual or someone to get somebody into RPGs. Then you can say, but I mean, for hardcore stuff, it's like you need someone who's good at who's been immersed in that subject. So, like, you know, Chrono Trigger, subjectively, I think it's the best JRPG ever made. But all that being said, it is not perfect. Like looking at it, critiquing it from a objective point of view, there are issues with it. Like, in the way I look at it, my rubric for measuring that is I look at it from a like, you know, if it was a game I didn't love and it had this same issue, would I let it slide? And you know, if it was an RPG I didn't like and they had a main character who had no fucking character whatsoever, like zero, no character development, zero character development, I'd be like, oh, this is not a good RPG. You know, what pushes Chrono Trigger over is all the other shit overshadows a lot of its like brings up its flaw. Like the fact that it has great character development, great music, a pretty damn good story. Each of the time periods have some pretty interesting scenarios going on. You know, the battle system, like all the other shit really brings that game up. But if you look at it from an objective point of view, it's like, oh well, this is like you know, like if I was someone who I didn't feel that it was one of the best JRPGs ever made, and was just judging it by any like a basic rubric, I would look at Chrono Trigger and be like it's pretty good, but the main character has no development, like no character development whatsoever. So that's kind of a ding. Which I mean, like if you were doing a paper, like in order to say something is perfect, it has to be 100% nothing missed. And I mean, not having a main character with no character development, that's a problem. That's not perfect. Not even by technicality, that's not perfect. So, I love Chrono Trigger. Think it's a great game. Not perfect.
Hmm. Well, at least I could agree with you on that. But in a way, I could actually translate into another topic of ours that I think is at least gr- a great concept and something that probably would be judged on its own merit. Music. Or rather, which music do you usually keep on you when on your phone or want to hear over and over again when you ever get a chance to?
I
For
listen to a
me,
lot
it
of. Oh,
kind of
sorry.
is.
Go ahead, Joel.
I was gonna say for me, I it's usually the boss music that sometimes gets me to want to play it on repeat.
From which
And
games?
I got varied, and that's varied. Um, like like Chrono Trigger's boss battle with against certain characters, and if I got it right, let's see, I did Chrono Trigger. Um, oh yeah, the the Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars one when you're going to get the boss like the Axe Rangers. And let's see. I know I have a more recent one because if anything, I'm trying to be careful not to go into Pokemon of all things.
I mean, I'm gonna keep it real. I like the classic Gen One Pokemon music. Like I like the Mewtwo fight music. Um, I thought that
I
was
was
kind
gonna
of cool.
say, I was gonna say, certain the gym leader music's really kicked in
Yeah,
certain generations of Pokemon though.
yeah. The Gen One Gym Leader music I like. Cause it really like it's like oh shit that shit just got real. Um, and I even like the music in Gen 2 with Silver and Gold. I like the Goldenrod City Game Corner music. I think that's really cool.
Oh yeah. Oh god. Now I got the song stuck in my head.
It's a good song. Like sometimes I'll play out like I'll be playing something else and I'll put that music on because it's just that catchy. Um, I think I think video game music, like for me, I listen to all types of music, but it depends on what I'm playing. Like if I'm playing a game where like it depends on what if I'm playing like an RPG and I want like really good like a JRPG. Like I remember I did a let's play of like the final boss, like some of the bosses in Xenoblade Chronicles 2. And the guy who did the music for that game is the same guy who did the music for Chrono Trigger. And I'm like, the boss music in this game is okay, but I think it would sound better if it was the boss music too from Chrono Trigger, which made it sound great. And then like I changed I did for another boss I changed the music from the boss music they had in the game to Magus's theme from which is the Black Wind from Chrono Trigger. Like Chrono Trigger has great music. Yatsunori Mitsuda did the music for that, and it's like it's all good. I like, and I know this might be unpopular. I think Yasunori Mitsuda did his best work on Chrono Trigger because everything else he did after that, the music's okay, but it's not Chrono Trigger good. I think that I do like Koji Kondo. I think he made a lot of iconic music for video games. Like I like the classic Legend of Zelda theme. I like classic Mario tunes. Um, one of the dings I have against Breath of the Wild is that it doesn't use Koji Kondo themes. It's like got this atmospheric non-music music, which I wasn't a fan of. Um, let's see what else. I like classic Star Fox music. Like when I say classic, I mean like 16-bit era. I'm not a hit fan of the music from Star Fox 64, except where they just ripped music from the SNES version. Like they literally they like the Armada level in Star Fox 64. It's the same music they did in the SNES version because it's the perfect song for fighting your way through a huge armada of ships with just 4 starfighters. Um, which works for me. I'm okay with that. Um, let's see. In terms of joke music, I love the Donkey Kong rap from Donkey Kong 64. It's lame, it's stupid, but I
I was
like
going to
it.
make the joke that I was going to say that kind of music actually get is kind of an upbeat music that you can actually bob your head to.
Well, no, it's a joke music. Like the guy intentionally made a bad rap song, but it's so bad that it's fun. It's like listening to the Fat Boys when we were kids, where the guy's like singing about the Fat Boys theme and the human beatbox stuff like that. And I'm okay with that. Like I like stuff like that. I mean anything from forgot the guy's name, David Rare composer. Here, let me look it up. Rare David Wise. Anything from David Wise, I love. David Wise is the guy who did the music for Battletoads. He did the music for like a lot of Rare games. Donkey Kong Country. Uh, Grant Kirkhope. He did the music for Killer Instinct. But I'm an audiophile, so like for me, a game could be bad, but if it has good music, I'm like, well, I'll let a lot of shit slide if you have good music. Um,
I would say that if you got good music, you could actually make a comeback.
I mean, I won't say it's a comeback because there's a certain point where, like, even with good music, it's irredeemable. But I will let a lot of shit slide if, like, oh man, the jump mechanics kind of stink, but this tune is banging. It's like Bob. Bob is not a good game, but the music is kind of good.
I was about to say Bob.
Bob.
Ooh boy.
Bob is not a good game. It's a very European game, and the music kind of stinks. I mean, the game kind of stinks. The mechanics are kind of like iffy. The hit detection is iffy. But man, do I love the, you know, I love I love the other stuff that's in the game. Like I like I like the music because music to me, like good music, can cover a myriad of sins in a game. You know,
Yeah.
like Quest 64 is not a good RPG. It's missing a lot of things that should be in an RPG. I can forgive not having a party system, like because it's the first game from this studio. I could forgive that, and they weren't used to the cartridge technology and having that limited amount of space on a cartridge. I can forgive the like you don't really have money in the game and you basically just like find you find shit in treasure chests and that's it. Like enemies don't drop loot, enemies don't drop items. You find shit in chests and I can forgive that. But like there's so many other issues with that game. But they must have known there were issues with that game because at the very end of the game, they have the final boss, and they have one of the most epic boss fight musics ever. It's like we know you slog through some bullshit, so here's a really good epic boss fight final theme to get you through the bullshit we put you through. And it's so good that I'm like, you know what? This game's not that bad. It's not good, but it's not as bad as um just because the music was so much better than it deserved to be.
Yeah, I mean, at least they, at least if a game gives you good music, they at least are trying to apologize.
Yeah, that means some effort went in, some visible effort. Because I mean, I haven't commercially released any games, but I have made RPG Maker games, and I'm pretty sure, like, I'm aware that a lot of the steps that you have to do in an RPG Maker or any type of game making software suite engine stuff
Hmm.
is similar to what you'd be doing if you weren't doing that. And I mean, I can appreciate how difficult it is, but like good music can cover, to me, because I'm an audiophile, can cover a myriad of sins in video games.
Reason why I keep audio and technicalities out of my own ratings because in a sense I consider music and audio like I do art and visuals. They're in the eyes of the beholder
I
or
mean,
ears of the beholder.
that is true to an extent, but you also have to realize that music can kind of, to me, music is a part of the game. Like if you're like, okay, I'm gonna use Chrono Trigger as an example because we've all played it. Like if you play Chrono Trigger and the first time you approach Magus's castle with Frog and Toe and all that stuff, yeah, and you have that opening where you see like the bats flying up from
That's
the party. Like if you didn't have that
yeah.
music, that would not be nearly as epic. Um, like and when you're
Actually, it would be the boss music that makes it that
no,
epic.
no, like when you're walking into the castle, you're being primed for this is gonna be some serious shit, and fighting your way through the castle with the synthesized organs playing and shit, and then you get to the final staircase to fight your way into Magus's sanctum, and like you hear the music starting to swell with Magus's Black Wind theme. It's like, oh shit. And then they start playing his theme. It's like, okay, this all comes together. The music helps build the mood of what's going on in the game. It's important. It serves a purpose.
Yeah.
Music, like, you can't separate, because think about it, like some of the most iconic themes in video gaming, if that music wasn't there, the game wouldn't be the same. Like if you're playing the Legend of Zelda, like any of the classic Legend of Zeldas, and you didn't have that classic Koji Kondo overworld theme, it wouldn't even feel like the Legend of Zelda. I mean, one reason to me why Breath of the Wild, I'm like, this doesn't really feel like the Legend of Zelda to me. There's no overarching Koji Kondo theme. There's a severe lack of true dungeons. um, the enemy AI is nonsensical. Um, collecting shit serves no real purpose. There's just like you gotta consider all parts. It's like if someone wrote a paper, but they wrote a paper and they had some really
Hmm.
good ideas, but everything was fucking misspelled and run-on sentences and shit like that. You'd be like, yeah, your ideas are good, but all this other technical shit is fucked up. So I'm sorry, you get an F.
Okay. At least
Um,
if anything, you can at least see where I'm coming from, right?
no, I get it. I'm just saying that's for for me the type of music I have on almost, but that's just video game music. In terms of like just general music, I like to listen to. I like to listen to a lot of 60s,
Hmm.
70s, 80s R&B and disco and like that type of stuff, like pop music of its time. That's what I like to listen to.
Yeah. I'm just saying that if that what kind of music would you usually hold on yourself? And for me, I usually hold video game music, especially boss music.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have like a dedicated music device just because when like I was too young for the Walkman craze and the CD man craze, and the
Mm-hmm.
school I went to really didn't allow cell phones like until like the last 3 years I was in high school, and by that point I just didn't really have a cell phone because like I think I lost like one cell phone, like it fell off of me and it was disappeared or whatever. And when I was in
Mm-hmm.
college, I didn't have a Walkman or anything because people in my college would steal shit. So I was like, I'm not getting my shit stolen. But now,
I
I
was
mean,
about to say, I feel sorry for you if you gotten your stuff jacked.
like I had a roommate my first year who would steal shit from out of people's care packages. Like he was a real piece of shit. Um, but yeah, the music that I listen to now, like a lot of the playlists that I listen to, uh, like on my thing, I listen to a lot of like Japanese music. Like I listen to a lot of like uh, 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 Akira Ifukube, who's the composer for
Mm-hmm.
Godzilla's theme back in the day in the 50s. Like all the Godzilla themes, he did that. I listen to a lot of like anime themes, video game themes. Like I have an eclectic taste in music. I listen to a lot of shit. I don't just like listen to one or two things. I listen to a lot of different things. A lot of pop music, a lot of R&B, jazz. I love jazz.
I can already, I can already imagine you're playing this now. That you got, that you got a variety of music going from grooving to head bopping to just plain rock and roll.
I don't have a lot of rock and roll. Like classic rock and roll. I do have a lot of hair metal bands though, and like that 70s blue-eyed soul rock and roll, like
Yeah,
Orleans, like that type of stuff,
it's funny that I imagine you with that.
Boz Skaggs, Dirty Lowdown, stuff like that. Player with Baby Come Back, stuff like that. The Doobie Brothers
Yeah,
with Michael McDonald.
yeah, you got quite a variety of music.
Yeah. I'm one of those people that like, because I remember I'd go visit my relatives, and they were like, "Why are you listening to that?" I'm like, "Look, because I took band in high school. It's like, look, good music is good music. It doesn't matter the skin color, the people playing it. If it's good music, it's good music, and it's worth listening to. So I listen. Whoever's playing good music, I'll listen to it.
Yeah, though, if anything, at least the two of us could agree on one thing: the new music that's been on the radio, it's been a mess.
I wouldn't know. I don't really listen to the radio that often. Ironically enough, I have Sirius XM for like I pay like $15 a month because I got the prorated deal, and like Sirius is great
Mhm.
because you can choose which channels you want to listen to. So mostly I listen to old shit. Like I don't really listen to the only FM channels I listen to. I listen to WPFW Radio Pacifica, which is like a very liberal news channel, and I listen to WTOP, which tells you the traffic and the weather in the Washington D.C. metropolitan area, which is important because if a snowflake hits the I-95, people are going to drive like they've never been on the fucking road before around here. So you kind of have to know that shit. I don't really listen to like pop radio stations, mostly because like all the shit I used to like on the pop radio stations, the people got run out. Like I used to listen to Magic 101, which had the Tom Joyner morning show, but they got rid of Tom Joyner and put Russ Parr in there. I used to listen to WHUR, but they got rid of the guy I used to like listening to and put fucking Steve Harvey on there. And I don't like Steve Harvey anymore, so it's like
I was gonna say
I
your
don't have.
mileage may vary.
I mean, everyone look. If you like Steve Harvey's morning show on the radio, good for you.
I was
I don't.
I was gonna say your mileage may vary because he has his moments, but they're rare.
By and large, I don't. I don't like listening to Steve Harvey share his little tools of wisdom about what you have to do to be successful. I'm like, everyone has their own methods for finding their way to be successful. And you can't there's no one size fits all success plan for everyone. It's different for each person.
That I can agree on.
You know, I mean, unless it's something basic like don't go to jail, don't beat your children, don't don't steal from where you work. You know, shit
The
like that.
basics.
Basic life shit. Then but you know, plus, I mean, Steve Harvey's just not as funny as he used to be. I don't think. I just
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That he has his moments where he's funny, but they're few and far between. Sadly.
I think what hurt him is that he stopped doing stand up. And the thing is, if you're a stand up comedian and you stop doing stand up, you're not going to be sharp like you used to be. Like if Eddie Murphy came back and started doing stand up after like at this point like 40 years he hasn't done stand up, he's not going to be funny. He's not going to be funny because he hasn't been doing it for 40 years.
Oh boy.
You know, like you could be the greatest athlete in the world, but if you walk away from the game for like decades and then come back, you're not going to be at the level because your skills have atrophied. You haven't been practicing, you know, and just like anything else, you could be a brilliant doctor, but if you say, you know what, I'm going to stop practicing medicine, I'm not going to take any classes, I'm not going to go into a hospital and see patients, I'm just going to go to the golf course and hit balls. I wouldn't trust that doctor to do shit on me. I'd be like, because you haven't been practicing for years.
I was gonna say more like I'd rather see a dentist than trust somebody like that.
Well, I mean, there's just certain things where, like, there's certain, like, okay, like, if you know how to cook, that is a skill that you cannot cook for a while, and your skills aren't really going to atrophy that much. They're going to go down, but they're not going to atrophy. But, like, a lawyer, a doctor, a comedian, a technical, like, because, like, people don't understand this. Comedy is a technical skill. Shit is constantly changing. Society is constantly changing. Things that were funny 20 years ago aren't funny now. Like, I remember when I was a kid, I used to watch Comic View and Def Comedy Jam and shit like that. And you'd have a black comedian come out and cuss and be nasty as hell. And that was funny back then, you know, or tell a joke about how he got in a fight with his girlfriend and knocked her the fuck out. And the way the guy told the joke and the punchline, it's like, oh, that's funny as hell. You can't do that now. That's not funny. It is not funny joking about knocking a woman out. Unless it's a black guy's joking about a joke that he fucked his girlfriend so hard he put her to sleep. That's a different type of knockout. So, but I'm talking like legitimately punch somebody out. Like that's not funny. You know, that is not funny. You cannot do that.
I will totally agree there.
You know, and comedians will say, like the comedians who don't want to change their act will say, well, political. You have to be politically correct. It's like, no. Truly great comedians change their routine. It's not every time they go out is the same shit they were doing 5 years ago. Okay? Like you watch a comedian who's always going out, they're always refining their act. They're adding new shit, they're taking shit out. They're writing new jokes. They're always coming up with new shit. They're changing with the times. You don't the only comedian I've ever seen who could use the same act over and over again and people still kind of gave them a pass on it is Red Fox. And that's because Red Fox was kind of like an elder statesman at that point in his career where he was part of that vaudeville level of comedians who had an act and people came to see that act and to see those jokes. It was like a show. The same thing. It's like a play. Like when you watch a play, unless it's like an improv play, you want to see that same. You went to the play to see that same thing. You want to see the same acts, the same lines. Like that's what you want to see. Comedy's not like that now. it's very
It's evolved.
yeah, it's different. It's different. It's different. But anyway, back to music.
Yeah.
Yeah, music is. I like music. I'm an audiophile. I have a vinyl collection. Um, so, as you could probably guess, I watch a lot of. I listen to a lot of different types of music. I am a music fiend.
Yeah, I got that, and I'm actually happy to know what kind of music you have. That way, if we ever get radio, that way if we ever do radio, we could probably be our own talk show hosts.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's the licensing thing, but I mean that'd be cool. So I guess we can move on to the next topic.
Um, yeah, I was gonna say, do you want me to go into the silly topic or the topic that probably is silly enough? That's probably a weird one.
I know we can go to the controller.
Okay, this, this is probably one of those times where you had these controls and well, all you can say is how the beep does somebody drive this game with this kind of control setup? And I'm gonna say this right now. I had one, but I kind of It's been a long ages of time to remember what it is. Like 10 years plus.
I got one. It's very easy. This wasn't a Nintendo problem. This was a third party problem. When there would be really shitty controls on the Wii.
Ooh boy.
Like really shitty. Like this didn't happen so much later on when the shovelware was just waggle the Wiimote or just point this and press a button. But when you got to the point where people were like doing shit uh, like I remember playing Dragon Blade, and Dragon Blade had a cool concept, but the controls were so bad that it was like I can't play this. Or the original Red Steel, which was virtually fucking unplayable. Um, I mean, people forget that. People don't remember that. Like, there
I
was a
would say that
reason
10
that.
plus years that it was since I had a game that made me say, why are these controls set up like this?
Why are they so obtuse?
Or rather, why does so many things are connected to this one button kind of
Why is
thing?
this shit so complicated?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, that's what happened to me with, like I said, I mean, I didn't have that with the Wii U or the Switch or the GameCube or the PS2 or the PS1 or the N64 um, or the SNES or the NES. But man, um, like the Wii with the motion control just. I mean, some of those developers just didn't give a fuck. They were like, whatever.
Yeah, I could at least agree with you there.
What effort? I don't need to
So,
put no effort into
I,
putting this on here. What's wrong with you?
though the only time I ever had that, oh, now I remember, it was a really old game now. Um, you know that weird running game that made me that that's connected to the to only four key buttons, and you have to do them in a certain way in order to move the character at least
Bit
one
trip,
step.
bit trip runner, or quap,
The second one,
quap. Yeah.
I consider that the most absolute worst controls I ever had.
No, I understand that, but the thing is that quap is a joke game. it's legitimately designed to be it's a joke title. Like you're not supposed to take it seriously as a game,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
that's the thing. I actually try to understand how the heck is this done. I consider it a bad example of controls in the game.
Oh, it's bad, but I mean, like QWOP isn't a game
If
that's
that's a
meant to
joke,
be.
that's one heck of a punchline.
Yeah, QWOP is a game that's not meant to be taken seriously. So if you're taking it seriously and getting frustrated about it, it's like, well, you kind of, you know, it's like when
Yeah,
it's like trying to make sense of the original One Punch Man, which was an absurd. Like the original One Punch Man is an absurd is an absurd manga. It's meant to be nonsensical. So trying to make sense of it is just kind of like,
I
you
was
know,
about to say it only makes sense if you get the jokes, and
no.
some of the jokes really punch at the superhero lineup.
Well, I mean, the
I
original
think.
One Punch Man, if you've ever read the manga, it's meant to be absurd and nonsensical. Like it's designed like in and like Japan has tons of manga that are like that, where it's like this doesn't make sense. It's not supposed to make sense. That's the whole point of it. Like it's supposed to be absurd and ridiculous. And that's kind of like what QWOP is. It's meant to be an absurd and ridiculous game. So if you're playing an absurd and ridiculous game seriously, like I'm not saying that the controls aren't bad because they are, but they're supposed to be bad. That's the point of the game. Um, it's just one of those things where it's like, oh, okay, that's what they were going for. Um, when I mean, like, if you make a joke game where it's designed to be ridiculous, it's like, well, I mean, that's the point. Now, the sad thing is that when you have a game where it's like they were trying to make a good game and everything fell apart, that's when I'm like, okay,
that this is that this is bad effort, or somebody does not know how a controller works.
yeah, yeah. Like I said, those EA games on the Wii, terrible.
It probably explains why it's 10 plus years since I had a controller. A control system so bad.
You know. Well, I mean, I always say this: the Wii had a lot of shovelware, but there were some really good games in there too, like Red Steel 2, Boom Blocks 1 and 2, Conduit 1 and 2,
Yeah, yeah,
Dragon Quest, that Dragon Quest game, uh, which wasn't a great game, but it had a lot of promise. It just wasn't utilized very well, sadly. But tis what it is.
yeah.
But I guess we can move
And
on to the
I
fun
actually
topic,
can at
unless
least say
you
that.
had something else you
Yeah,
wanted to say.
I can at least say one last thing before we move on to the next topic. That hopefully we'll never have a game that has every button do two things at the same time or interchangeably.
I mean, the sad thing about that is that we all like Rare already fixed the how to use the same button to use because they did that in Conker's Bad Fur Day where they had the context sensitive button where
Context sensitive.
depending on what you were doing, it did different things. Like I don't know why like it's difficult now. They're like, "Oh, we don't know how to do that." I'm like, "Come on, man. Y'all are just being jerks."
I say that because, well, considering how bad some people have been with making game controls or ever making certain games in certain ways, I kind of worry about that. You can understand, right?
No, I agree. I'm just saying like it's it's not as bad as it used to be, but it's not great either.
Yeah.
Um, anyway,
Now to the fun topic that probably is going to be either short or kind of where we get a little crude,
If a
depending
game I
on
like
how.
was food, what would it be as far as my favorite food?
Yeah,
I mean,
for me, as far as going into my favorite kind of game, which is RPGs, I consider them like either a cookie or pizza, or my favorite kind of pizza, baked just right, trying to given all the good seasonings and cut to just the right size.
yeah, I mean, I'm gonna say pizza, and I'm gonna say RPGs are like pizza because like pizza, you can take them in slices. Um, there's a lot of different variations on a pizza, just like there's a lot of different variations on RPGs, and you get a lot of bang for your buck with RPG if it's done properly. Just like you get a lot of bang for your buck for a pizza if it's done properly.
Mhm. Another favorite of mine would probably be either Super Smash Brothers or something like Blue Guilty Gear, or 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 something or some other fighting game. I think I consider that kind of like popcorn.
Yeah, I agree with
You
that.
you might need to add you might need some flavoring with it, but it always comes through when you need something to munch on.
I would consider it more like pizza. I mean, more like candy. Like you know,
You consider fighting games like candy?
yeah, they're like candy because candy is a little burst of sugar. You eat it, it gives you a quick sugar rush. But if you eat too much of it, it's gonna make you sick. And fighting, if you play too many fighting games, it's too much. You kind of have to balance out how much you're gonna play of a fighting game.
Hmm. Well, that's kind of interesting to know. Hmm. I consider something like Sonic the Hedgehog or the 2D Mario games kind of like spaghetti or the steak strips. They they're they're usually thin, but they they can have a good burst of flavor if done right.
I can see that.
What about you?
I mean, for me, I consider those games to be like they're like a they're like a they're basically kind of like a Salisbury steak with mashed potatoes and gravy. Like very comforting, very home foody. It doesn't take a lot of risks. You're gonna get what you're gonna get. Don't expect don't expect people to be doing a lot of weird shit with it, which I'm okay with. I don't like weird shit with my comfort food games. Um, like like I don't want to play a Mario game where Mario's pulling out his dick and hitting people in the face with it.
I'm sorry, I almost burst out laughing my rear end when I thought about that. Hmm.
I
So
don't want to play a Mario game where Mario is like you know like that's what the spin-offs are for, to do weird and interesting things. You know.
yeah, um, here's here's where I might get a little bit of weirdness or kind of oddness to it. I consider games like GTA or more open worldish games kind of like a salad. There's a lot of there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of it, though. You're gonna need some dressing in order to flavor it up.
That makes sense. For me, I consider open world sandbox games to be like eating a hot pot, like a not a hot pot, like a buffet, where you go there and you pick what you want and you put it on your plate, and then you go back to sit down. And then you get up and you get some more when you're finished. Like that's basically what open world Sandbox style games are to me. It's like you're eating. You're basically taking what you want from it and then going on your way.
Huh. That's funny because I consider minigame collections kind of like a buffet.
Now, for me, minigame collections are like. For me, minigame collections are like you went to a restaurant and they gave you really, really, really small portions. Or even worse, it's like a hot pot where like everything, a Korean or Japanese style hot pot where they have the big bubbling thing of soup, and but they gave you two small portions of everything. So there's not enough vegetables and not enough little slices of raw meat. There's not enough like little slices of chicken. There's not enough to go
They give you
around.
more rice than
They don't even have rice. It's just a little bit of
dang.
everything. It's like, damn, this is just a little bit of everything. Like, I haven't played a minigame collection that was really good except once. And that was like the only minigame collection that I ever played where I was like, this is really good. It's astonishing. It's much better than it has any business being. Was I'm gonna say Kirby Superstar was pretty damn good. But each of those
Okay.
games were way longer. Like Spring Dreams was a little bit shorter than the original Kirby on the Game Boy. Dyna Blade was longer than the original Kirby on the Game Boy. Um, Once you get to like Meta Knight's Revenge, like you're talking games that are
Hmm.
as long as other mainline Kirby games at that point. Just a little bit more streamlined. It's you're not going a lot of backtracking, but I mean, like most other minigame collections just
Yeah.
feel very insubstantial, which I'm not cool with. I don't,
At least I can understand you, though. It's probably weird that I can still enjoy minigame collections, though I've gotten less of them over the times usually, unless it's a WarioWare game.
yeah, that's where we're gonna, yeah, that's where I'm gonna dive off of that. I'm gonna dive off of that
Off of
hill because I do not
that menu.
like aside from the first WarioWare, I am like I'm done. Nah, no, and even the first WarioWare, like I didn't buy that game. I got it for free when I got my 3DS, and they did like the ambassador program. I was like, I wouldn't buy this game. But if you want to give it to me for free, sure. But I would not buy this game. Mostly because, I mean, WarioWare isn't terrible by itself, but I would rather have a 2D Wario game than a minigame collection.
Huh. Okay. Let's see. Um, I consider racing games kind of like uh, kind of like a speedy version of French fries and chili.
Well, that's fair because if you're eating French fries and chili, you're gonna be racing to the bathroom. Um, yeah. For me, racing games are kind of like for me, racing games. It depends. If it's a racing sim, a racing game is like I'm eating a food that requires like a lot of tedious like I'm eating fish with a lot of small bones that I have to eat around. If it's a racing sim, if it's a racing arcade game, it's like I'm eating a fried fish sandwich on two pieces of light bread with a little bit of mayonnaise on one side, maybe some mustard and a little bit of hot sauce. Two pieces of as folks in the South call it light bread, not white bread, light bread. Something like that.
Uh huh.
It's like, oh, this is nice.
I can only imagine whatever. Let's see. I'm trying to think of what the heck shooting. I think I consider shooting games like those. like the like Fortnite or DayZ or Call of Duty. I consider those kind of like the candy corn to me.
Yeah, well, if you're like me, you hate candy corn.
I consider candy corn to be the lowest thing that you ever get at Halloween.
I'm the person who would basically go and dig through my candy stash and get rid of the candy corn because I hated candy corn that much.
Yeah, if anything, I consider though I could eat candy corn, but I consider that the last piece of candy I ever munch on.
I didn't even eat it. Like I would ignore the candy corn, eat everything else, and then at the end of Halloween, like after like a week, week and a half, 2 weeks, I'd have this pile of just candy corn because I hated candy corn. I've always hated candy corn. I'm like, fuck this shit.
You, you sir, are a lot bolder than I am.
No, I mean it was my candy. I didn't have to. No one was forcing me to eat candy corn. I just didn't like it because candy corn has no flavor. It's just pure sugar. And that is, to me, that was disgusting. I was like, this is disgusting. I can't eat this.
I I'm almost afraid to ask what you consider candy corn.
Oh, you mean what I liked aside from candy corn? No, really, candy corn to me
As in
was
as in what you consider your candy corn in gaming.
the thing that's utterly useless that I just will not play. I mean, for me, the games that do that for me are those MOBA style games. Like I just like Fortnite. Um, like I just don't I don't like games like that.
Hmm.
Like it does nothing for me.
Okay, here's probably one that I consider weird to me in a sense. I consider pinball like soda. It's it's a quick jolt. It's smooth to go down, and it is it's kind of fun until it's all gone.
Uh, I can agree with that. I mean, I wouldn't use those adjectives, but I can agree that it's like soda. I mean, it depends. If you're playing like a really good pinball game, it can be more substantial. But it's hard to find a really good pinball game. Like most of them are average at best.
Okay, what would you consider? You could actually consider pinball to be soda. That's actually interesting.
No, because I mean, if it's a shallow pinball game, like a shallow pinball game is like you're drinking like and not like a high quality soda, like like the shit where you went to a fast food
The
place.
generic store brand.
No, it's like you went to a fast food place and you had soda from the soda fountain, which is always heavily watered down.
Oof.
That's what it feels like. That's what it feels like when you play like a kind of a shallow uh, pinball game. Now, if you play a good pinball game, it's like you're drinking a really nice, well-made cocktail that you're sipping a little bit at a time, and you're really enjoying it, and you're nice and mellow. A good pinball game, but there's not. It's you very rarely get really good pinball games these days. you know, at least to me.
Yeah, I get you there. Though I usually consider most pinball games that I played kind of like soda. That's that at least you know how I felt when it go when I take a sip of it, right?
No, I get it. I'm just saying. I'm comparing your analogy to my analogy, where it depends on the pinball game because I've played some pinball games that are great, and then I've played some pinball games that are not so great.
Yeah, to that I will agree on. If I ever find a good pinball game, I think it might end up like that.
Oh, there are good pin. I mean, I've said this before, but the two pinball games released for the TurboGrafx 16, Alien Crush and Devil's Crush, great. Two of the best pinball games ever. Unfortunately, they're on the TurboGrafx 16. But I think you can go on the Wii Virtual Console and get those games, or other means and get them. And the games are great. They are legitimately really fantastically good video game pinball games. Um, as far as real pinball games go, as a business owner who owns a barcade, they're too expensive to get. Like, if you want to get like old retro pinball machines, you're going to spend at least $50,000 for some of the really nicer ones.
I can already imagine how much of a tall drink that is.
And then if they break, you're just SOL because guess what? They don't make
There's virtually
replacement
no.
parts anymore.
Yeah.
So you've got an expensive piece of hardware that you cannot fix.
Oh boy.
Now the good thing is that with 3D printers like coming in, you can like 3D print a lot of stuff, but
Yeah, the repair work will be a B, right?
well, you still need to have someone who has the technical know how to open it up, take the part that needs to be repaired out, put the new part in. Not everyone can do that.
That I could agree on.
So anyway, any other game on your list?
um, this is gonna be a tricky one because I actually feel like this is gonna be a little bit of a difficult one to. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Let's see.
Anyway, while she's indisposed, I guess I can do my next game. Um, I think 2D platformers are just dessert. Like a classic old school style 2D platformer is just dessert. That's it. Nothing special. So
Sorry about that.
it's okay.
The one time I don't need a crank caller.
Yeah, yeah.
You were saying something about platformers.
Yeah, I said 2D platformers are like dessert. Like a classic old school style 2D platformer where you're just, running around doing classic 2D platformer stuff.
Uh huh. For me, I consider platformers varied. Like if you a 2D platformer, I consider kind of like a like a chocolate, while I consider 3D platformers more like a complex sundae.
Yeah, I mean, either way, if it's a platformer, like if it's a 2D platformer, for me that's like a classic, like nothing too special. 3D platformers, they used to be more varied, but now they've become kind of the same thing over and over again because the only people who really do 3D platformers in a big way these days is Nintendo. and it's going to be a Mario game or something like
Yeah,
that, and it's like,
and as I said, it's kind of like having chocolate or a sundae, but you can't have too many of those, or you're gonna end up being overloaded with overloaded with sweetness.
I mean, not just that. It's like if you went to a place where there used to be a lot of places that served it's like if you live someplace where there used to be a lot of places that had ice cream stands, and then all of them went out, and all you had left was this one ice cream stand place, and their ice cream is good, but after a while, it's like you want some variety. You need other
Yeah,
you needed and that's kind of the problem. Like, it's the reason why, like, I've kind of gotten, I'm not saying I'm tired of 3D Mario games, but because there's no competition, it's getting a little stale. It's getting a little stagnant, in my opinion.
yeah.
um like, I personally didn't think Mario Sunshine was as good. Not Mario Odyssey. I don't think Mario Odyssey was nearly as good as some people may have made it out to be. Um,
I consider it an average good.
I mean, like, I wouldn't like. I mean, I would. To me, Mario Odyssey is. Like, if you compare it to the best 3D Mario games, which to me the best 3D Mario games are Galaxy 1 and 2, I don't put it on
Mm.
that same level. I put it above Sunshine, below 3D World. So that means it's like the second
Somewhere in
worst.
the middle, right?
It's the second. No, it's the second worst 3D Mario game for me. Because Sunshine's the worst in my opinion.
Uh,
Sunshine is terrible. Mario Sunshine is not good at all. Um, to me.
eh. Well, well, to at least try to end this on an odd note, I consider collectathon games kind of like fruit salad.
That's fair.
I, I mean, it gives you variety of things to try, but well, you gotta be careful how much is in that fruit salad.
That's fair. That's fair. What I consider to be fruit salad in my gaming, or not even fruit salad, just salad in general, is our puzzle games. Because puzzle games force you to use your mind, which is a good thing, just like fruit. I mean, just like salad forces you to get your roughage, which is a good thing. And when it's done, when a salad is created really well, it's crafted really well, it's fucking delicious. When a puzzle game is made well, it's equally delicious. Um, when it's made poorly, just like a badly made salad, it's like, this is disgusting. This lettuce is wilted.
At
This
least we can
dressing
agree on
is this dressing is
that.
rancid, and there's no croutons in this salad. Like, the vegetables are disgusting. Like, why would you even do this? Ugh.
Yeah, I think that could be a good way to end this cast on a interesting note.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair. So that's the end of the cast. Rate, comment, share, subscribe. We have another cast this Tuesday. It is Kenoshi Abominito's Project Console. Every Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. to 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
And
Um,
of course, the BS Busters every Wednesday and Saturday from 7 to 9 or 7:30 to 9, if I got it
yes,
right.
that is correct. And so that's going to be fun. And yeah, that's the end of the podcast. Rate, comment, share, subscribe. Peace and good night.